Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at how to open Logic. It's pretty obvious, really. There's you can double-click the Logic icon in your dock. That's probably the easiest way. Or you can go into your applications folder here and find it in there. But most of you should be, recognizing icons on a desktop by now. Let's go into that one. Okay, so we can open it up from there, and Logic starts. You may see a registration dialog after a minute, and the template dialog opens shortly after that once we open up a new project. Okay, so we're going to press Command N or go to File, New. Okay, I've already got Logic open. You probably haven't. You probably got this window open immediately. It will come up with this dialog box here. Okay, so obviously we've got a range of templates here. We're just going to look at empty projects at the moment. So if you select empty project, and you'll see this new tracks dialog box opens immediately. Okay, so and the new tracks dialog box comes down from the Arrange Windows title bar. And a Logic project always needs to have at least one track. So for this exercise, we're going to have just one track, which is going to be a software instrument track. Okay, so we're going to keep the number of tracks here set to 1. And we're going to select software instrument and make sure the open library tick here is selected to that. So we're going to choose software instrument there. Okay, and then we're going to click create. Okay, so if you just follow me as I'm doing this. Okay, so a new software instrument track is created and the media area opens over here. This is the media area. You can see it's got a white halo around it which depicts it's active. Displaying the software instrument library. Okay, so you've got Logic Instruments, which is the basic instruments here. By default, we've got the EVP88, which is what's open here, but obviously you can select whatever you like. And then we've got a range of other instruments and sounds we can pick from here as well. But at the moment we've just got the EVP88. Okay, so we're going to leave it as that at the moment. Okay, so until you manually save the project to a hard disk, it only lives in the computer's memory, and that's just the flash RAM memory. So this makes it vulnerable to power failure, a computer freeze or crash, or even a loss of notebook battery power if you're on a laptop. So it's really important to regularly save your project, which you can do by pressing Command S or File, Save. So we go to File, Save, not Save As, just File, Save. It's the first time we're saving it. We're going to save it as, I don't know, let's save it as my first project, or my new project. Okay, and we're just going to click Save there. But what you need to do, in your directory here, you'll be able to see a folder called Save Your Work Here Only on your desktop, and you're going to need to go into there, create a new folder by clicking the new folder dialog box down here, give it your name, and save it into there. Okay, it's really important that we don't save into the Logic folder or anywhere else on the hard drive on your computers besides the Save Your Work Here Only folder, and then create your own folder within that. Okay, so if you just do that, and then save once you're in there, then we're here. So I'll give you a few minutes just to a few seconds just to get that sorted. Okay, so since this is the first time you're saving your project, the save dialog appears, and that's why you need to do that. Okay, so once you've done that and you've created your own file name and put it in the right location, just click on return and save it, and we'll move on to the next part. Okay, so we're going to look at exploring the interface now. Okay, so as you work in Logic, you'll probably spend most of your time in the Arrange window. Okay, which is this area here. Okay, the Arrange window has 6 areas. Okay, and they're all in here. Okay, so this whole area here is the Arrange window, and it's got 6 areas. So aside from the main Arrange area, which is this section here, and if I click inside it, you'll see the white halo appears around it, indicating it's active. Each area can be opened and closed, giving you a quick access to most of the features. So this one's always open, but we can open other things over the top of it. Okay, so so let's open the editing area. The editing area is any of these down here. So if we press Mixer, that opens the Mixer, and we can see our channel strip there with the EVP88 and a range of inactive plug-in processors. Okay, but we see the mixer is displayed in the editing area below the arrange area, and we can adjust the size of that using the adjustable size resize tool here, however we like it. Okay, so basically, if we go through the areas, let's have a look at them. We've got this area over here, which is the inspector area, and if I press I on my keyboard, you'll see it disappears, and I'll toggle it back in by pressing I. So the inspector area includes what we call a contextual set of parameters. Its contents automatically update depending on the key area of focus. Okay, so depending on where you are, if I click in the arrange area, then depending on what you've got going on in the arrange area, different things will appear in here. Okay, and we can affect different things from in here. This basically just gives a detailed view of any particular track that we're on. We've only got one open at the moment, so it's looking pretty boring. But as we go through, you'll see how this fits in. Okay, so the arrange area, which is this area here, is where you build a song by arranging audio and MIDI regions on the tracks located below the bar ruler. Okay, the bar ruler is this area here. Okay, the editing area, which includes the mixer, the sample editor for audio, the piano roll for MIDI, the score for creating scores, and the hyper editor, which is another MIDI editing function. They're all part of the editing area. Okay, so which displays those areas that let you edit the contents of MIDI or audio and the regions that they're in. Okay, the toolbar is this area up the top here, and this is a customizable toolbar which provides one button access to a lot of the features and settings that you use the most. And if we press Control and then we left click that, we can go to Customize Toolbar, and we can add in anything that we want in there that will help us. And that's saved for this project. Okay, and then there's the transport bar down here, which has got all kinds of crazy stuff on it, which we'll look at, including your main transport, play, forward, etc., and all of these areas here, which you can have a look at in more detail. So it's also customizable to a certain extent, and we've got the transport buttons here, like I said, play, fast forward, rewind, and others. Information displays here, which relate to tempo and the location of where the cursor is and all that kind of stuff. CPU usage and hard disk usage. And other buttons here, such as the cycle mode, which you can see here, toggles on our cycle region. I can also do it here as well. That toggles it off of there and then as well. And the metronome, we can have a click going on in the background. So there's lots of things going on here. The main volume for the overall song is here as well. The master volume for the overall mix, which is this level here. If I take this down and up, you'll see it moving at the same time. Okay. If I click on that, if I click Alt and then click on that, it takes it back to 0, as do any of these. Okay. So that's the main areas basically. And you've also got over here the media lists area, which you can toggle on and off, and this is, we've seen the the library for our different instruments there, for our software instruments. We've also got loops where we can find different loops that we like by genre, etc. The audio bin for audio parts, and a browser generally to find where we can find files that are on the computer in different places. Okay. So in a moment, we're going to learn more about navigating a project in the Logic interface, but you first need to fill out your projects bit with some stuff. Okay, so using loops can be a great way to start. For the songwriter, loops can quickly provide inspiring rhythm supports, allowing you to focus on the chords and the melody, get a feel for different versions and types of the song that you're going to produce. And for a producer, they're a large resource of musical bits that can be layered with your tracks to add texture and interest. Okay, so here they are, the loops here, and we can look at them by genre, instrument type, mood, and we can have a favorite section here as well. Okay, so in the loop browser, for example, we can click the All Drums selection by going into the this little section up here. instead of being in the column view where we can look at the genres and stuff, we can look in the musical view and we can see all drums up here. And if we click all drums, then it opens up all of the, you see there's quite a lot here, quite a lot of drum loops, and we want to search for some that are relevant to us, and we can do that using the search field there. Okay, so if we enter the words trip hop, so trip and hop, then we can search for, you know, drum loops which just have the words trip and hop in them. Okay, the first loop at the tops of the search results should be named Trip Hop 70s Room Beat, like I've got here. Okay, if we click it, then we see that a little icon, a speaker icon appears here, and it starts playing. And if we click it again, it stops. Okay, the loop automatically plays at your project's tempo, and Logic's default tempo for a project is 120 BPM, which we can see down here in the project tempo, and it comes up in the help tag there and says that it's the tempo, which is too fast for trip hop, which is why that loop sounds particularly weird at that speed. Okay, and not quite right, as some of the beats are sort of slightly off because it doesn't sit with the genre, which is more a more relaxed kind of hip hop genre. Okay, so we can adjust the tempo, and we can adjust this in the transport bar exactly there. Okay, by either dragging the numbers up and down, and we can do that at any point. We can really fine tune those numbers, or we can just double click into it and we can select whatever we want. Okay, so if we double click into it, we can change it to, let's say, 70 BPM, because 70 BPM is the tempo of that particular beat here. We can see the original tempo of that beat is 70 BPM. So if I press that now, it sounds more like it should do. Okay, so we can change that to anything we want. We can drag it up and down. Let's change it to 73. Okay, so in the loop browser, if we click the next loop or press the down arrow, so we can just click it, or we can press the down arrow, we can listen to more loops and decide what we like. Okay, so we can start and stop these very easily. We've got this is highlighted, this area, so we know now if we press the space bar, it will also start and stop those loops. Okay, we're going to close the mixer now so we can see the arrange area a bit more. So if we press X on our keyboards, that's the command to toggle in and out of the mixer. Makes it much easier. Okay, in the loop browser, we're going to scroll down and find Trip Hop Jungle Beat 01. Now these are all in alphabetical order, so we're just going to click that and then click it again to stop it. We're going to go down and we're going to find Trip Hop Jungle Beat 01. Okay, and we're just going to drag it in onto our track there, and there it goes. So we drag it in there between bars 1 and 2 on the grid lines. Okay, and the inspector, which remember is this section over here on the left, displays 2 channel strips now. The selected arranged track channel strip on the left and the output on the right. So this is the selected strip, and that's the main output track on the right. Okay, Logic automatically loads the necessary channel strip settings, which basically is, you know, all of these different channel strip settings here, and this is the one that's associated with this particular one here. You can't find it, but it's called Two-Step Remix, I think. But that comprises of these different effects, okay, and we can change those and add to them and whatever, but they're just you know, different processors and effects that we can use on that sound. Okay, so we can see the abbreviation of the channel strip setting here is Two-Step Remix Overdrive. If we hover over it, we can see that's what it's called. Okay, so Now we've got drums, we might want to add other things in. Okay, so later you might select more loops that match the feel and style of those drums, so you can keep building on the arrangement. Okay, but now let's learn about how to find your way around the project a little bit better. So we're going to look at navigating around the project. Okay, and that's our next section that we're looking at here. Okay, so navigating the project. Obviously, a big advantage of computers is that you can move around quickly, and this makes it easier to jump between parts of the songs, stop and start, play a section continuously, all that kind of stuff. And Logic gives us many ways that we can go around the song, okay, and navigate around it. So in the next two exercises, we're going to learn how to learn the transport buttons and their keyboard commands, and learn how to continuously repeat section of the project. Okay, so down here in the transport bar, we've got the go to the beginning, which takes us to the beginning of the track. We've got the play from selection, which will play from wherever we've got wherever the cursor and the main playhead is selected. Forward and rewind, stop, play, pause, and record. Okay, and there are our basic commands there. And we can do lots of things to access these using key commands. Obviously, when we're in this area here, by clicking into the background of the arrange area, we select it. It's got the white halo around it. Pressing spacebar starts and stops. Okay, if we want to rewind, we can go backwards and forwards by pressing the arrow keys next to the M on your keyboard to go back and forth, left and right, respectively. And that takes us back one bar at a time. If we want to go a little bit faster, we can press Shift right or left, and that takes us forward or back 8 bars at a time, which is useful for pop music. There's usually a transition every 8 bars. Okay, so what else? We can go back to the beginning by pressing Return, which also stops. So if we are playing and we press Return, it will stop, and we press Return again, it will go back to the beginning. We can play from selection, which is this one down here, by pressing Shift and Enter, and we can record by pressing R, so we can go straight into record like that. And that would start recording as soon as the first bar hits. It's a quick way of going into recording, and obviously by pressing spacebar stops that again. Okay, so if you look, if we click into the background of the arrange area and we select this region by clicking on it, you'll see that this is highlighted with a black background and white writing. That means that this region is selected. And that's useful to know because you might want to be doing stuff to a selected region, and we know which ones are selected and which ones are not, so knowing that's quite important. Okay, if you want to repeat that section continuously like in a cycle, as I showed you before, we've got the cycle region up here, and we can change that to be whatever we want, so we can change it to 8 bars, or we can just select down here in the transport bar, auto set locators, which then if I select a region, it automatically sets the locators, the left and right locators around that region for the cycle region. Okay. If I want to take that off, I just hold down my mouse down here on the trackpad and deselect that, and in that way I can set that cycle region to whatever I want and select whatever regions I like, and it won't automatically set it. But obviously, if you want to, preview whole sections or individual regions, that can be a help to know how to do that. Okay, so what I want to do now is add in some more loops. Okay, so if we go back over to our section over here and we deselect, if we go to reset here and we click the bass tab here and we type in bright tone bass, we've got a number of regions that come up, and what we want is bright tone bass 03. So if we just select it and just listen to it, that's great. Press stop and spacebar to stop it, and then all we need to do to get it in is drag it in. We can either drag it in underneath, or we can create a new track and then double click on the the actual loop there and it will just appear there, but this is the easiest way. Just drag it in underneath and it will place it there. Okay. Logic automatically creates a new audio track. You can see these are different. These are green, these are blue. Green tracks will have green icons next to them, and that's a MIDI region which contains MIDI notes. If we look in the piano roll there, we can see the MIDI notes in there, and we can change the length of those notes and the velocity and all kinds of things. If I press P on my keyboard, that will hide the piano editor. And if it's an audio file, then suddenly we've got something we can edit in the sample editor, although it's not showing it at the moment because we haven't got that selected. Okay, so there we go. We can automatically get that in there and have a look at it. Okay, but we don't want to do that because if we actually edit an audio sample in there that's on the original sample track here, we're actually editing the original file, and that's called destructive editing. And we don't want to do that unless we're going to go to audio file, save a copy as, and then save it as something different. Okay, it's really important because we don't want to destroy the files that come with Logic. So we wouldn't normally go in there unless I ask you to for any specific reason. Okay, so get rid of that. Okay, go back to the start, and then select back into the arrange area there. And I want you to select a few more tracks. So we're going to select Deep Electric Piano. So if we go back into our library here and we reset, and we're just going to type in there, we know what we want, Deep Electric Piano. And we can select either of these, doesn't really matter too much. I'm just going to drag it in underneath that one. So now we've got a piano in there, we've got drums in there, we've got a bass, and we're building up the basic building blocks of a typical kind of song. Then I want you to find another loop called Orchestra Strings 03. Okay, so if we just type in Orchestra Strings, we'll find 03 there. Sounds lovely. Bring it in underneath there, and then we're going to look for one called Wild Slide Distortion. But if we just type in wild, it may just come up. There we go. There's only a few with the word wild in it, and one of them is this one, Wild Slide Distortion. We like that. We're going to drag that in underneath there. Okay, so we've got a range of different instruments in our song already. Okay. These blue regions are audio, and these green, again, are MIDI regions. Okay. If I click in the background of the piano roll editor here, which you can see down here, and I press Command A to select all, and I press Z to zoom into selection, we can see all of those notes in there. Okay, but we don't want to edit the notes at the moment. I'm just showing them to you. Okay, and if I select all, now I'm in the arrange area here. If I select all of the regions there, and then I press Z, we can zoom in to all of those regions. It gives us a quick way of zooming into specific regions that we want to look at in more detail. Okay, so just to go over that again, these are audio tracks. Okay, these are audio regions. This is a MIDI track, and this is a MIDI region. Okay, all these are just called regions. Okay, but actually we don't call these MIDI tracks, we call them software instrument tracks. Okay, because if you remember, we go into our library here, Logic Instruments. These are all the software instruments we can use that Logic provides, and these are some of the other ones as well. Crazy things like pianos and bass and keyboard sounds. And really, I just want you to go through and kind of like select a few of those and have a listen. Just get used to selecting loops and listen to them and bringing them in. And then we're going to move on in a short while and look at building an arrangement. Okay, and that's in the next video. I'm just going to come around and speak to everyone and make sure that you're working okay. Okay.